Good afternoon, everyone. How you doing? This is your boy Savar Matner coming to you today to talk about fitness. So, if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering what's the fastest way to lose weight and to get in shape. And I'm here to tell you that a lot of people get this notion that you have to lift weights in order to succeed both. Okay? The very first thing you have to understand about losing weight, if you're trying to get in shape, is that you have to create a calorific deficit, calorie deficit. Calories is essentially fuel for the body. Okay. So when you are in pursuit of trying to lose weight, that's the first thing you have to look at is your overall eating habits and diet. Okay. Now, a lot of people think of diet, they think of dieting as a temporary thing, but a diet is really your eating habits sustained for a length of a lifetime. For example, in order to get this big, you have to eat copious amounts of food, more so than what your body needs for fuel. You're eating in abundance instead of eating for necessity. Okay. So when you're trying to lose weight, and let's say you're looking for a personal trainer, the first thing that we normally do as someone that's in that world, the first thing we do, we sit down and we listen to the goals. And it's the same thing. I wanna lose 100 pounds in like 3 months. Like stuff like that. And a lot of those goals are not realistic. So the first thing a real personal trainer would do is tell you, well, we gotta set manageable goals, goals that you can easily hit and target, because that will build growth. That will build sustainability. The reason why that is simply because if you're doing something and you're getting praised for doing it and you're achieving those goals and you know you're doing it, you're more motivated to stay with that particular plan. The second thing we do, we address the foods, and foods and goals go hand in hand. So we'll set the goals for weight loss. We'll set the goals for building muscle. Then we look at goals for food, and you can separate them both, but how are you eating? What are you eating? Everybody has a BMR, that's your basic metabolic rate. Everybody has a set maintenance calories that you get for figuring out what your TDEE is, which is your total daily energy expenditure. And so there are two different things. Okay, so then we'll figure out based on your height, weight, current weight, and gender, right? Where you are now, where you need to be based on what the formula says. All right, and there's different ways of getting the formula. All right, the Mifflin-St. equation, the Harris-Benedict equation. Those are the two. With the I think the Mifflin-St. is the standard, and the Harris-Benedict was the old standard. And then you have the Cunningham equation, which is strictly really for athletes. But bottom line is, once we plug in those numbers, and personal trainers, we tend to have our own little way of doing things. But once we plug in the numbers, we can kind of gauge where you need to be. And then we'll say, okay, based on your BMR calories, here's what you need for your maintenance calories. And we'll try to make sure you stay somewhere in the middle of both, to where you're in a deficit and you're losing weight. So we look at food next. Okay, because you can train hard all you want, lift tons of weights. If you're eating more food than what the body needs, you're just going to store it as fat, as energy, which is why the title of this particular video is lifting weights is only half of the correction. You got to have goals, you got to have a plan, and you got to understand that in order to lose weight, you got to be in a caloric deficit. Can you build muscle in a caloric deficit? Absolutely, when you're very big. More on that in a second. So then we'll set that goal. Okay, hydration. Hydration, hydration, hydration. That should be the staple in everyone's program, is hydration. Okay, and rest. Because you build muscles when you rest. You lose weight and burn calories when you're active. But the body needs to recover. So you got to make sure you're doing enough, but not doing too much. Okay. And personal trainers that have been doing this for a while, they can pretty much gauge and tell you, especially when you're very obese, no jump roping, no running. Let's try to do light impact cardio. Basically try to walk as far as you can for as many minutes as you can 2 or 3 times a day just to get you acclimated to being active. Then we'll try to put you in the pool, or we'll try to put you on a stationary bike. Something that would take a lot of the weight off of your knees and ankles, right? Because you're that's a lot of unwanted force on your lower extremities, especially if you've been sedentary for long periods of time, just sitting around not doing anything. Those muscles need time to build and grow. So you have to get acclimated with being active. So you want to do low impact cardio the bigger you are. All right. And then you just get used to moving, get used to the blood pumping, get used to the lungs working. And then you're cutting them calories down. But however, you got all that stored energy, the body's going to use that. All right. Then after getting acclimated with moving, then we focus on trying to build some lean tissue while you're losing weight. For someone that's probably been eating 6,000 calories every day, it takes between 24 and 2,800 calories to build some muscle tissue, because this isn't the same as fat. It's metabolically active, but it's denser than fat. Fat takes 3,500 calories on average for a pound of fat. So that's why when you start to lose weight and you build muscle, the scale might not change that much, because the amount of fat that you had covering the area, even though it's shrinking, the muscle density is more than fat. So the scale might slow down as you're building lean tissue. But what we don't want to do with someone that's obese is to have y'all doing crazy exercises. We normally target, at least I do, one body part per day, right? So we'll do arms for a day. We'll try to do some legs movements for a day, mainly sitting down, trying to do some leg extensions. Just want to build some muscle, hamstring curls if you can, right? We do some chest work. We'll just alternate, because the body got to get acclimated. And then the smaller you get, the more volume you can withstand. Then we'll try to go 4 days, 3 days, 4 days, 3 days. And then we'll try to mix and match cardio in there, assuming your diet and everything is on point. But you can come from 6,000 calories down to eating 3,000 calories and start losing a lot of weight and build muscle. But like I say, once you start getting down to a certain point, then, weight loss is going to slow down. Then you have to look at how tall you are, how much weight you lost, how much muscle you're trying to gain. And then depending on what you're trying to do, we can sweeten it up a little bit. It's kind of like tuning a car. Tighten it up a little bit more, getting you right around to the calories you need to eat every day on a protein, carb, dietary fat makeup, and go from there. So don't think that just lifting weights is the way to go. It's good to have muscle. Muscle is longevity. But if you're trying to lose weight, you got to be in a caloric deficit. Building muscles require you to be in a caloric surplus. Okay, so that's why, yes, you can start losing a lot of weight when you're obese and build muscle. That's pretty much then get to a point where you're doing body recomposition. However, you can't expect to build a lot of muscle tissue and you're only eating 2,000 calories a day, right? And your maintenance calories that'll maintain your weight is like 26, 27. For most men that's moderately active. I ain't gonna say moderate, slightly active. Like on a TDEE chart, there's 5 levels, with 1.2 being pretty much sedentary. So if your BMR is like 1,500, you just need to eat like 1,800 or 1,900 calories to maintain that weight, because you're pretty much sedentary, right? So the average person cleans around 2 or 3. So that's like 1.3 and 1.5, if my mind serves me correctly. So those calories jumps up, to roughly 22 to 2,600 calories, give or take, based on the math, depending on what your BMR is, right? And so then, if you want to build muscle, you got to stay somewhere in that zone and add maybe 300 to 400 more calories. 5 to 7 is the sweet spot, but like I say, with muscle gain come fat gain. They go hand in hand. Even if you get it close to just eating 300 calories extra a day, you're going to have some slight muscle fat gain and very slow muscle tissue building gains, but you'll build more muscle than fat. 500 is like even, and then 700 is a little bit more fat than muscle. So that's the correlation with the both. You can't do one without the other, because fat is stored energy, and the body needs that reserve energy when it's repairing itself in order to maintain muscle, to keep sugar regulated, keep the muscle insulated, all of that stuff that comes with that, and that's more advanced stuff, and we're not going to talk about that. So if you clicked on this video and you're new to this channel, the way I wanted to bring you into this channel is with this first video. Just don't think lifting weights is the key. Yes, it's activity, but the fastest way to lose weight, guys, is aerobic exercising, cardiovascular exercises. Once you get accustomed to moving and you start to work on the endurance fibers, then you transition it to aerobic exercises, anaerobic exercises. That means without oxygen. So that's pretty much you're relying on muscle tissue. The energy stored in the muscle, right? ATP, adenosine triphosphate, right? Water, glycogen, all of that in that muscle creates energy. So that's why you need fat. You have to create that energy, right? So that fat layer over that muscle is what keeps that muscle regulated, keeps your hormones regulated. It breaks down sugar molecules and all that stuff to keep that muscle fully ready to go and charge when need to be used. But the first thing is diet, well, goals, realistic goals. So make sure your personal trainer is someone that gives you some pushback, right? Realistically, you can lose a pound a week, 2 pounds a week, maybe 3 pounds a week, depending on how big you are. A lot of it's going to be water weight. What we don't want to do is put you on a very serious crash diet, because at that point, you're not going to stick with the program. Okay? And then once you get used to losing weight, then we're worried about building muscle. Then you can mix and match. But the main thing is getting active, guys. So don't just go to the gym, grab dumbbells, and think you're going to lose weight. I see it happen all the time at the gym. I see, and it's good to see obese people in the gym, but I see it all the time. They come in the gym, they don't have water. Guys, this is essential for weight loss. Okay? There's a lot to water. Look it up. The main thing is hydration, and being full suppresses the hunger hormone, ghrelin, right? Because a lot of times you're thirsty, you're not hungry. Hydration is key in weight loss and building muscle. Hydration is key. But I'll be at the gym if I'm not home training, and I see big people come in. I don't see no water, but they come in. They do their cardio self-partly. They hold on to the goddamn, now excuse me, I worked out earlier today, guys, but they hold on to the goddamn rails, okay, while they're walking on the treadmill because they got the slope set so high. Do you guys know that if you let the top of the treadmill go and slow it down, that you'll work harder and burn more calories, because now you're forcing your stability muscles and your abdominal muscles and everything else to keep you upright to fire, which means your heart rate increases a little bit more. In turn, you're burning more fat because you're burning more calories. When you stabilize yourself like that, holding the damn back of the treadmill, the screen, right, you're taking all of those extra muscles from firing out of the equation, because now you have something to hold on to. So you're not going to burn that many calories. Even though that machine says you might have burned calories, that's just an estimate based on if you are doing everything right and are constantly holding on to the bar so your heart rate can go. The most accurate thing is a decent watch. This is a Galaxy watch. When I exercise, I turn it on. It monitors my heart rate constantly. And so it gives me an estimate of how many calories I burn. All right. This is going to be more accurate. A decent watch, something that costs at least $100+ than a Fitbit, or going to a gym and holding on a treadmill and thinking those are the calories you burn. I see it happen all the time, and guys wonder why I can't lose weight. That's why you're cheating. Lower the incline or lower the speed to where you can walk and try it. When you get tired on that incline, bring it down a little bit more, a little bit more. When you get to a flat, then you can increase the speed. Matter of fact, you can slowly increase it as you come down in grade from an incline. But I see people going there all the time. They hold it for 30 minutes an hour, and then it tells them on the machine, based on what you was doing, you burned 700 to 800 calories. And they believe that. And that's not how that works. So I see that type of cardio. Then they go to the gym, allow them to know how to even the properly lift weights. They'll go on there and be doing exercises, half curling, half doing extensions, back extensions, leg. They don't know how to train. And then someone like me try to give them advice. They get a little bit, I don't really want to do it that way. So they have to figure out the hard way on how to do things. And then I see them in the gym. Some of them come in the gym. They have a whole midday snack and only been in there for 30 minutes. And then I watch them Google or just wolf down probably 700 calories worth of stuff in a protein shake. Right? I mean, you gotta have realistic goals. So I hope this video helps. It's just a touch of what advice I can give you, right? And not overload the brain. But the main thing is understanding you got to be in caloric deficit if you're trying to lose weight. You can build muscle while being in a caloric deficit. The more weight that you have to lose, because the calories are going to dictate if you can build muscle or not. For the average man, 24 to 2,800 calories to build some muscle tissue. For the average woman, you can get away with about 22 to 2,600 calories, give or take, to build some lean muscle tissue. So as long as you're eating somewhere in that ballpark with a slight surplus in calories, you're going to be fine. And when you're eating 6,000 calories, weighing 400 pounds, we cut you down to 3 to 2,500 calories. You can still build muscle. That we call that body recomposition phase. Having goals in place from how much weight you're trying to lift each week, how many sets you're trying to do, how much weight you're trying to lose. Manageable goals that you know you can hit with just minimum amount of effort will lead to the long-term goals of what you're trying to get at when you need the most maximum output. But above all else, diet. What you eat, how you rest, how you keep stress at bay is going to be all of the missing pieces that you need to understand to lose weight, to get in shape, and to stay healthy. So I hope this video helps you. Until the next video, this has been your boy, Savar Matner, your personal trainer. Stay safe. I'm out. Peace.